Fans, so this past weekend we finally got the much anticipated, much talked about Logan Paul versus Dylan Dennis, and I'm here to break that down to you guys. I'm here to talk about that with you guys. So let's talk about it now, shall we? Um, it definitely was a little bit what I expected it to be. You know, I did expect a little bit more from Dylan Dennis, but the fight overall pretty much met expectation. You know, I've been listening to all these other outlets, all these other MMA boxing outlets, all these other people on YouTube and whatnot, and they're talking about how it was bad, it was terrible, and whatnot, and they were just saying all this just bad stuff regarding it. But I gotta say, I knew when I was gonna watch this, I wasn't looking at Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Davis. I knew I wasn't seeing Tyson Fury versus Usyk. I knew I wasn't seeing Canelo Alvarez versus Charlo. I knew I wasn't seeing any of these guys. I knew I wasn't even gonna see two older guys fighting, like a Bernard Hopkins, Roy Jones Jr. You know, I knew I wasn't gonna see anything close to that. So when I hear all of them like, oh, the fight was terrible, it was bad, like, yeah, because you guys got to remember, this is, I believe, Logan Paul's fourth fight as a boxer and Dylan Dennis's first professional boxing fight and third professional combat sport fight in his whole career. So, excuse me, guys. To anticipate or to even think that we were going to get some kind of craziness, this really high technical boxing match, or even something close to that, even a small percentage of that, you really were crazy. You really were just like really not, you really don't know what you were looking at, honestly. You really were just pretty much having much more bigger expectations than you should have. It's like going to the circus thinking you're going to see some kind of crazy, fancy Cirque du Soleil, maybe some type of Bellagio show in Las Vegas. Like, no, you're probably going to see something cool and fun, but you're not going to see something that's really extremely extravagant. You know, you really got to know what you're paying for, and that's what you're paying for. You weren't paying for a very big boxing fight. You were paying for a circus fight. You know, you're paying. That's what you were paying for. That's what you were gonna see. You weren't gonna see anything else but that. So for all these other guys to say these kind of things, it's like, hey, come on, you get what you paid for. This is what there was. It was nothing more. It was not two amateur boxers. It wasn't two boxers with golden gloves. It wasn't even two high-profile boxers. It was two guys who wanted to start boxing and started learning how to box, went in the ring and showed off what they were able to do. That was it. And that's pretty much what we got. And at the end of the day, Logan Paul looked a lot better than he previously looked. But then again, you can't really say much when you have Dylan Dennis, who pretty much is only doing up and hands, his Philly shell and whatnot. He's only able to, like, you know, block most of Logan's punches, but not really able to do anything else but that. He's not really able to, like, throw. He didn't really use his hands. He didn't throw his hands. And I know what a lot of people are going to say. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, he's a jiu-jitsu guy. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he knew how to throw some hands. It almost felt like Dylan Dennis went in there to make sure he didn't get knocked out, to make sure he did not get stopped. And I know a lot of other people are saying the fact that Logan Paul should have dominated Dylan Dennis. I promise you, unless you have any experience doing this, it is really hard to stop someone with that kind of defense. That kind of defense, you look at Manny Pacquiao versus Joshua Clottey, could not stop him. You look at Paul Williams versus Winky Wright, could not stop him. You know, with that kind of defense, this kind of defense, hands up the entire time, blocking all the punches, it is really difficult to stop somebody. You can unload, but then you risk losing the fight by pretty much burning yourself out. And that's something that Logan Paul did not want to do. I'm sure he wanted to stop him. I'm very much sure he really wanted to do that. But at the end of the day, he did not want to lose to him. That's for damn sure. You know, I think he would rather win than actually stop him, or not stop him, but like try to drop him and then get tired and then lose the fight. That would probably have been much worse for Logan Paul. But Logan Paul did look good. Dylan Dennis should have done a lot better. In all regards, I actually think he did a little bit more better than what other people anticipated. A lot of people didn't even think he was going to make it to the fight. A lot of people didn't even think he was going to even be there, but he ended up showing up there. So that shut up a lot of people. And then the fact that he actually was able to stay in there the whole 6 rounds, or 5 rounds in 2 minutes, I guess we could say. We'll talk about that in a sec. Was also very surprising as well. So, because I honestly felt like it was going to be almost like Jake Paul versus Ben Askren. Like where, you got Ben Askren, who is a very high caliber wrestler, and he pretty much just got knocked out clean. Now, I know a lot of people are saying he didn't train, he didn't really prepare for the fight, and he pretty much just took the fight just to get the money, is what it is. Where Dillon Danis, he looked like he took the money, but he did everything he can to make sure he did not lose. He didn't want to take any risks, which he should have. He was supposed to. You can't just go in there and think you're going to do that. Think you're going to have your hands up and think you're going to win a fight somehow, some way. But Logan Paul pretty much did what he needed to do. He got the decision. He got the win. Well, it was not even the decision. He got the disqualification win. Because again, here we go. In the 6th round, we saw Dillon Danis do some antics. He got him into like a little bit of a guillotine, a standing guillotine. He went and tried to have Logan Paul go on his guard when he went on his back. And then, of course, he tried to, again, go for another submission attempt in the 6th round. And at that point, Logan Paul had enough, tried to go a little ground and pound himself, but then moved away. And then you got Dillon Danis chasing him, and then all hell breaks loose, and everybody just storms into the ring. And the fight is over by disqualification. So that was probably the most Dillon Danis did throughout the fight. And he ends up losing. After all the trash talk, all the anticipation that we had going into this fight, it pretty much led to expectations, in my personal opinion. It wasn't anything that was going to be big. It wasn't anything that was going to be super high technical. It was a fun fight. That's what I feel. Because there's fights, when we look, we know we want to see Usyk versus Tyson Fury. We want to see something technical. We want to see the great versus the great. And then there's fights out there that we want to see, but they're just fun. They don't mean anything. They're just fun. It's like going to the movies. You go to a movie and you know this movie is going to win an Academy Award for all the special effects, for the great storyline, for the great script, for the great everything. And then you go to another movie that might be scary or a slasher or something to that nature, and you know it's not going to really win any awards, but it's fun. And that's what this boxing fight felt like to me. It was a fun boxing fight with some drama, with some chaos. It was a little bit of everything that was entertaining, because this fight was very entertaining, in my personal view. Would I love to see more? Yes. Would I love to see a little bit back and forth? Yes. Would I love to see Dillon Danis do more offense, show more offense? Yes. I'm sure there's even pro fights that we wish we saw that too. But at the end of the day, sometimes you get what you get. Now what's on? What's going to be next? What's the future for these guys? Well, Logan Paul, the only part I have to disagree with this whole event is when he decided to call out Rey Mysterio. I'm a wrestling fan. I grew up watching wrestling. I grew up watching Rey Mysterio. But that was not the time for that. That was not the time for that, Logan. Logan, you're always going to have a WWE career. You're always going to have a wrestling career. You're always going to have that. You're very entertaining. But this was a time, if you want to stay in boxing, because he had a very big, very big explosive argument with his brother regarding the fact that he wanted to do boxing, but his opponents, or his brother kept taking away his opponents, and that now he doesn't have anybody, that he keeps putting himself on the back burner so Jake could fight everybody. Well, this was your chance to finally call somebody out. You called out Conor McGregor. Okay, maybe that's something down the line, but I don't think anytime soon. But this was your time to really shine, to really let it out and say, hey, I want this fight. I want this guy next. I want to do what I can do to fight this guy. He could have called out even a Nick Diaz, or maybe a Jorge Masvidal, or he could have cut out somebody that would have made it much more interesting. Or hell, he could have said, Tommy Fury, you're next. I want you. I want to revenge my brother. He could have done something other than calling out WWE superstar Rey Mysterio. That is where I felt like, okay, yeah, you kind of missed your opportunity there, big time. You definitely created much more hype in your WWE career, sure, which you really don't need, because you already are a superstar and you could do that on your own time. You don't ever really get this main stage. You really don't get this many views at this part of your career in a boxing ring after doing what you do to call out another boxer. Like, you could do that maybe on your podcast and all this other stuff, sure. But now you got all the attention on you. We all want to know what you're going to say. We all want to know what you're going to face next. And you call out Rey Mysterio. And that is just, it's very unfortunate to me. But as a boxing moving forward, we just do not know. Again, we don't even know if this is what he really truly wants to do. Who knows? Maybe he just wants to stick with WWE. Maybe this was just a one-off for him. Just to, you know, fight for his girl's honor and call it a day. You never know. Now, as far as Dillon Danis goes, Dillon Danis, unfortunately, he doesn't have long in the combat sports world. You know, he doesn't show up in fights. He hasn't showed up in fights. You know, he's caught out guys, and then, you know, he's been sucker punched quite a few times. He's got choked out by bouncers, and he has not had an MMA fight since 2019. He's not well liked in the MMA community. He shows up at boxings and does not box whatsoever. I'm telling you, this guy is becoming nothing more but a troll in the boxing, the MMA, now boxing world. So there's really, really, really few and less options for Dillon Danis. The only thing I can think of is him possibly joining with the PFL to take on Jake Paul, who is also with the PFL in an MMA fight. That could potentially be something big. That could lead to something really, really massive for that promotion, because you got Dillon Danis, who's a troll, and you got Jake Paul, who's a troll, who they continue trash talking with each other nonstop, and it could lead to something much more bigger. Boxing fight, I do not see that happening because of the fact that look what he did. He's just going to show up there to do the exact same thing. It's going to take a long time for this guy to do another boxing fight. He's going to have to do it at a very low level to show us, like, hey, you're going to take this serious. Because we saw what we saw on Saturday. It was him not being serious. It was him going in there for a paycheck and to make sure he did not get knocked out. That is not what everybody pays for, you know. And nobody's going to want to pay for that again. He's going to have to do it for free. So unless it's MMA, which he is undefeated in MMA, and he could get one of the Paul brothers to do MMA, that could be potentially something down the line. I could see that. So guys, let me know in the comments, what do you think is going to be next with Logan Paul? What do you think is going to be next with Dillon Danis? And what do you think of the fight overall? Let me know in the comments, guys. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.